So welcome to this session where we're looking at how to link payments made in SIMS Agora into the private fund manager automatically without having to re-enter transactions into PFM. Key with this is making sure that when we set up the various accounts, be they trips, clubs or anything else, then there's a link between the two systems. So here on Private Fund Manager we have a ski trip going to Colorado in 2016. We will need to have a corresponding account on SIMS Agora, and the key piece of information is this: the full name. The full name on Private Fund Manager must be exactly the same as the name on SIMS Agora. So I'm just opening up SIMS Agora and going on to the Products tab, which is where we set up the various items. I'm selecting Trips down the left hand side, and I'm using the plus product button up at the top right in order to add a new trip or account onto the system. And this is the important field then, the one called name. It has to be identical to PFM, so the way I make sure it is simply to copy and paste from one system to the other. It doesn't matter which direction you do this, you might set it up on SIMS Agora first, but it must be the same. It must have identical capitalization, spacing, etc. Please don't use commas, exclamation marks, etc. And so we set the SIMS Agora product up with the various pieces of information that are required. If your ski trip is actually being paid in multiple instalments and you're going to set each instalment up as a separate product, what you need to make sure is the name that goes here on SIMS Agora is identical to PFM up to a full stop. If you put a full stop in, whatever comes next, Private Fund Manager ignores, so you're able to put in the instalment number or date that you wish to process as a separate item on SIMS Agora, but it will all be fed into just one shortcode on Private Fund Manager. So it's the full stop after the name that says this is all that's important to you, Private Fund Manager. Ignore anything that comes after the full stop. And that's what we do to set up the trips or accounts in each of the systems. They need to be on both, and they need to look identical in terms of the name. When it comes to entering transactions, obviously on Private Fund Manager you'll be used to adding cash and cheques through the By Shortcode tab in the usual way, selecting the account, if appropriate the pupil entering the amount of cash or cheques received. You may, however, make the decision to enter cash and cheque entries onto SIMS Agora, the reason being that when the parent looks, they will see a record of both debit credit card payments and cash payments, and this is how you do it. You're in manual transactions, you pick a pupil and choose record manual payments. You choose what this particular student has paid for, and I'm just going down to the ski trip, and I click on the button over on the right there, which allows me to add an item. And so I'm saying I am paying my £125. I can add other items I'm paying for, or I can just click on continue, and then I have the option to pick cash or cheque, or discretionary. And if it's a cheque, I can put a cheque number in, I can put payee details, any other notes that I'm interested in about the cheque, and then I can process the payment. So this is up to you. If you'd like to put cash and cheques onto SIMS Agora, it means you will not have to re-enter them on PFM. They will automatically be updated when we update the details of credit and debit card payments made. And it means the parent will be able to see the information. So how do we do this link between the two systems? It's very simple. On Agora you go to the Reports tab and you choose the first one called Payments Received. We don't need to change any of the categories, etc. We just need to make sure we pick a date range that's as wide as we need. We click on the download spreadsheet button, which is going to create for us a spreadsheet of all the new payments received within the date range. You can choose to save the file, or you might be interested and want to have a quick look at it, and you might choose the Open with Excel option. And this is the kind of report you'll receive. It shows to you all the receipts you've had in, the date they were paid, what it was for, who it was from, how much has been paid, how it's been paid, and whether it's a debit credit card, or it would show cash and cheques if that were appropriate. This is the essential step. You must save this spreadsheet as an Excel workbook, and it has to go in a very specific folder, which is your PFM folder, and a subfolder called Unprocessed Internet Payments. Now you give it a name. I just leave it as payments received and put a date on the end. It's up to you what you'd like to do here. Click on the Save button, and again it must be an Excel workbook and not any other type of file. And again, very importantly, you must close this spreadsheet down. And having saved that spreadsheet, now we have the very simple task of asking Private Fund Manager to read it. So we go into Receipts and Internet Receipts, and the bottom left button to read the Internet Receipts file. And as it says, it's been successful. It's found 6 new entries, 2 of which are cash and cheques. So on this screen, which is the credit debit card screen, there are the 4 entries. It knows who's paid, it knows what it's for, how much, and the date, etc. All new credit and debit card payments merged in or linked in one go. Were there any cash and cheque payments, they would appear on the normal banking screen in Receipts by shortcode. They would be added on the end to anything you already had there. And if you do this process again tomorrow to link with SIMS Agora, any new ones will just tag on the end. And you to bank it as and when you want to. The internet receipts, though, the credit and debit cards, we choose the Bank It button, and just for now they go into the SIMS Agora holding account. Why do they go there? It's because you do not receive each of these payments. You don't get 125 and 125 and 125 showing on your bank statement. You will receive a single figure from SIMS Agora of the £500 less any bank transaction fees that have been taken. So rather than having a really complicated reconciliation process of trying to make things add up, what we do is suggest you put the money into your SIMS Agora holding account, and then we will process the actual payments made in just a second. And as you can see, the screen now clears. Today's transactions have been merged in. You can do the same tomorrow or next week and so on. So the SIMS Agora holding account, the bank account we created, it's kind of just a dummy bank account, as you can see, has all the individual items going in. So far it's got £500 just in a holding account made up of 4 lots of 125. SIMS Agora will make a payment to you of the £500 less any fees deducted by the bank for transaction charges. And they will generate for you on the report section a little report. As you can see, it's on here. It's called the BACS transactions. It will show you exactly what they've paid you and what it's entailed of. What are the individual items and what are the bank charges that have been deducted. You can pick the day that you're interested in, that you've had a payment for, and you can look at that detail of that spreadsheet, and that will show for you the charges that have been deducted and the overall amount that SIMS Agora make a payment to you for. It's important that we, this is just a little spreadsheet showing the individual transactions on a given day. It's important that we of course process the bank's transaction charges, because that needs to be shown on the system, and we do that, we recommend, by creating a little short code that will keep a track of all the charges that have been made from the system. I'm just going to call it fees, and I'm going to call it the bank's transaction. I could spell transaction. So bank transaction fees from SIMS Agora. And that means that every time I have a look at one of those BACS reports from the SIMS Agora system, I will know the amount of fees that's been deducted, and I can process that as a direct posting payment. I'm choosing the fees account, entering the amount, on this occasion £5, picking the date and putting some kind of narrative. So bank transaction charges, and then putting the date on so we know what it relates to, and pressing the save button. And when I look back then now at my bank statement for the SIMS Agora holding account, I have the 4 entries of money in and the 1 of fees going out. My last step is simply to record when I do receive a lump payment from SIMS Agora into my school fund bank account. Can put a reference of something like settlement and how much they have actually paid me, and that's the 500 minus the fees the bank have charged. When I finally go back to my bank statement, as you will see, I have the 4 items in, the fees out and the bank transfer. The idea, of course, is they should balance each other out. The reconciliation is fairly straightforward. I tick on any one of the items on a given day. In the middle of the screen, it shows me the total for that day, which will correspond with my SIMS Agora BACS report. I can press the F1 function key to tick every item for that day, and then I simply tick the fees and I tick the settlement figure, and they come back, as you can see, to 0. 0 because the ins now balance the outs, and I know that everything has been reconciled correctly. And as usual, I click on commit changes and would print maybe that report off, and I'm left with a blank screen ready for the next day and the next day. So that's the process of how the systems link together. Very straightforward, and we just do the report on a daily basis, import it in. If you'd like any more details, please visit our website on www